What is up, guys? Back again to do another draft video. Already did videos on Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and whether or not the Broncos should draft them. Going to be doing the same thing today with Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. I definitely think he's a little bit more of a polarizing prospect than Zach Wilson and Trey Lance in terms of people are just very, very heavily split on him and how they project him in the NFL at the next level. But Justin Fields was the third quarterback that George Paton attended their pro day. Obviously, the first was Trey Lance, the second was Zach Wilson, so only right and only fitting that I do a video on Justin Fields. And of those three quarterbacks, it sounds like Justin Fields has the most likely chance of falling to us at pick number 9, or maybe even pick number 7, where Detroit's picking, and people are saying is like a hot spot for people to trade up that want a quarterback. There's been rumors that New England may look up to trade there at pick number 7 to get a quarterback. So, you know, maybe Justin Fields is the most likely guy of those three to fall to that pick 7 or even pick 9. A lot of people have said that, and it would be very intriguing to see if the Broncos would take him if he fell to pick number 9. Because I got to be honest with you, with a lot of the mock drafts I've seen, it seems like people don't expect us to take Justin Fields if he's available, or expect us to trade up for him. I saw a couple, you know, early on in the mock draft season, but as we've gotten closer to the draft, it seems like people don't expect us to take Justin Fields if he's there. But overall, I really like Justin Fields as a prospect. I kind of lean with the line of thinking and I guess party of people that really like him and his upside. I think he's probably the second best quarterback in this draft. If I were to rank them out, I think he's probably the second best quarterback in this draft behind Clemson's Trevor Lawrence. And you just look at Justin Fields as a prospect. He's 6'3", 227 pounds, has great size, is only 22 years old, spent 2 seasons as a starter at Ohio State after transferring there from Georgia. He played 22 games for the Buckeyes, threw for 5,373 yards, completed 68.4% of his passes, had 63 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and also had 218 carries for 867 yards and 15 touchdowns. Definitely, I think you could make an argument he's the best athlete in this quarterback class, him or Trey Lance for sure, but obviously showing off his mobility and his dual threat ability there with the production numbers. Again, 15 rushing touchdowns is just insane. But as I mentioned before, of these three guys, of Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, of these three quarterbacks I've talked about, and you could even probably throw Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones in there, it seems like Justin Fields is the most polarizing of the group. As I said before, people are very, very split on him. You look at NBC Sports' Chris Sims has him ranked as the 5th best quarterback in this draft, which I just think is absolutely insane. And again, I really respect Chris Sims' ability to evaluate the quarterback position and just his overall football knowledge and ability to view the game. He's a lot smarter than me in that regard. I won't, even argue that for a second, but to rank Justin Fields as the 5th best quarterback in this draft, to me, that's just insanity. He said some things like he doesn't think Justin Fields can read the field well, doesn't pick up blitzes well or recognizes blitzes well. Does think Justin Fields has some elite traits, has a through-the-roof powerful arm, is a special runner, but has too many questions about him as a pure thrower and consistency with his decision-making. He says the things that he needs to fix won't be slam dunks or easy to fix, and also said he thinks Justin Fields' mobility will hinder his ability to grow as a passer. He comes from a one-read-and-done system, and he wouldn't take Justin Fields in the top 10. He said he would take Justin Fields between picks number 20 and number 32. I hate to break it to Chris Sims. I don't think there's any way in hell that Justin Fields falls there, and if he does, man, I think this league is really stupid. And then he finished up by saying he thinks there's problems with Justin Fields' throwing mechanics, and he said, quote, he has a floppy release, wiggly arm, which I think is just really weird. I definitely think he has an elongated release and a longer release, if you will, but I don't think it's floppy or wiggly, so to say. Sims also said he's concerned with Justin Fields' footwork. He's concerned about his feet always coming together, heel clicking, if you will, and he says he thinks Justin Fields needs a lot of space and room to throw the football, which is a take I really, really disagree with. Then you look at ESPN's Dan Orlovsky, again, another former NFL quarterback. He went on the Pat McAfee show and said people associated with decision-making in the NFL and front office NFL people, I'm assuming, told him they've learned or heard that Justin Fields is a, quote, last guy in, first guy out type of quarterback, not the maniacal work ethic that you want from the position. And the other thing is, where's his desire to be a great quarterback? And Orlovsky continued to say that he personally is not out on Justin Fields, but thinks teams have to look at him being a unnatural thrower, agreeing with Sims about the, I guess, wiggly arm and floppy release, and has that longer release. And I also think there's this narrative surrounding Ohio State quarterbacks, whether it be like Dwayne Haskins we've seen recently, Troy Smith, Cardale Jones, Terrell Pryor, Braxton Miller, and J.T. Barrett, all those guys, and you know, their lack of success, if you will, in terms of translating to the NFL, that people are kind of, you know, pinning Justin Fields as well. You know, it's just an Ohio State quarterback thing, which I think is just really stupid. And to be quite honest with you, I think Justin Fields is a way more talented passer than all of those guys. I think if you combined all of those guys' arm talent, it wouldn't be where Justin Fields is right now going into the NFL. And he's a guy that has a chance to get better, and I think will get better at the NFL level. But as I said, he's polarizing. So you have those takes by Sims and Orlovsky. On the flip side, there's people like me that really love him. You look at NFL Films, Greg Cosell, who's just like kind of a film junkie. He says that Justin Fields is a smaller version of Cam Newton. He has high-level traits, but he does have inconsistencies with his vision, but overall has the talent to be absolutely sensational. And then former NFL quarterback J.T. O'Sullivan, again, another guy who I really respect his ability to break down the film. He has said he would take Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence because of the upside. So I kind of tend to agree with those guys in terms of how I view Justin Fields. Again, I think he's the second-ranked quarterback in this class, and I think a lot of the narratives around him, I think some of the criticisms around him even, mainly with like he needs a lot of space to throw the ball or his footwork even, I just think are inaccurate, and they're wrong. They're flat out wrong. And like I said, the only guy I would probably take over him is Trevor Lawrence. So I love the guy, and again, I think that a lot of the narratives around him are just, you know, flat out bullshit, to be quite honest with you. Now, when I break down Justin Fields' traits and his game, again, I'm no fucking quarterback guru, but I like to think I know enough. I think Justin Fields, he might have the strongest arm in this draft, in my opinion, if you're just looking at pure power. He has a very special arm. He has an absolute cannon, in my opinion. He has a bigger arm than Zach Wilson, bigger arm than Trevor Lawrence. Again, if we're talking pure power, even Trey Lance. So I think, as I said in my Trey Lance video about him, you know, when the ball comes out of Trey Lance's hand, of any guy in this class, I think it's like electricity coming out of his hand. But if you're just looking at pure power and arm strength, I think Fields, for my money, has the biggest arm in this draft class. And he's a guy, again, I don't really agree with the take about Chris Sims saying he's like an unnatural thrower, or even Dan Orlovsky, and that he needs all this space within the pocket to beat you. I think he can really drive the ball from within the pocket to the boundaries, to the outside of the numbers easily. He throws dots and darts and strikes over the middle of the field, and really I think has some of the best touch of any quarterback in this class at all three levels, especially on the deep ball. But I think his touch at all three levels is very consistent with some of these guys like Zach Wilson. You know, he'll throw some dimes deep, but he'll miss some easy throws over the middle. And I'm not saying Justin Fields doesn't either, but again, I think his consistency with his touch, for me, might be the best of any of these guys in this class. I think his touch, especially in the red zone, is phenomenal. Again, he just throws absolute lasers, especially when you watch his touch on the deep ball, man, he throws lasers. And again, I think his touch at all three levels is so consistent. And the footwork, again, I just don't really know what Chris Sims is seeing. I think there's things you can look at with Mac Jones, and J.T. O'Sullivan has broken this down in terms of footwork and heel clicking and feet coming together. I think Mac Jones does that a lot more than Justin Fields does, and I think there's tape to back that, and again, evidence to back that. I think Justin Fields, even if you look at his pro day, and again, I know it's his pro days, but his footwork, I think, is really solid, and I think it's making strides. I don't think he needs a lot of room to throw the ball. I think one of his best traits and one of his best attributes is his toughness from within the pocket, and his ability to just stand in the pocket and really just throw dots in the face of a rush with limited space. I think when the pocket collapses, he'll stand in there and throw strikes. So again, I don't really agree with this assessment that he, you know, needs a bunch of space to throw the football. I don't really know where that comes from. You know, I saw a guy again that kind of stood in the face of the rush with no fear. and just was delivering darts all over the field with that limited space. So I think that's one of his best attributes, quite honestly. And I think he has just tremendous toughness from within that pocket. And he's a hard guy to get down and sack. Again, he's 230 pounds, so he's got a little bit of that wiggle and elusiveness in the pocket, but mainly due to his size and strength. And then his athleticism is obviously very special as well, so that helps there. But he's a guy, again, as much as people talk about his running and his athleticism and his ability there and his mobility, which is all very, very special, I think he's a very, very, very natural passer. Again, maybe his release isn't natural, but he's a guy that I've seen pick apart, countless defenses, whether it be even the highest level of defenses in Clemson and Alabama recently in the college football playoff. He can pick you apart from the pocket. He definitely can do that. So again, I don't buy that narrative at all. And I think he even can do some of the things with the arm angles that you see Zach Wilson can do. Maybe he doesn't have the array of arm angles and off-platform throws, if you will, that Zach Wilson does and has in his arsenal. But I still think he's got some arm angles and can do some special things with that as well from within the pocket and the throwing lanes he can create there. And he also, once again, has great touch with his ability to make throws on the run, another aspect where his mobility just helps him out. And again, that mobility, that athleticism, this guy that ran a 4.44 40-yard dash at his pro day, again, at nearly 230 pounds, that's special. You compare that to other quarterbacks that seem mobile or we've seen be mobile and make plays with their legs. Dak Prescott, first and foremost, he ran a 4.79. Cam Newton ran a 4.59. Russell Wilson, ran a 4.55. Aaron Rodgers ran a 4.71. I mean, Justin Fields blew all those guys out of the water, again, with the 4.44. I think the comparison Greg Cosell made of him of being a smaller Cam Newton is a pretty damn good comparison. I kind of think he's a little more Dak Prescott than Cam, but when you look at the 40 numbers, I think athletically Dak is, very, very, talented in his own right. But I think Justin Fields is in another level with like the Lamar Jackson of the world and even Trey Lance. Again, I think the things you can do with him because of his athleticism as a quarterback in the run game. I mean, you can build an entire quarterback run game around Justin Fields, design a run game around him because of what he can do with that mobility. Again, he can do a lot of things with the quarterback powers and the read option game. I mean, with him is going to be absolutely dangerous, and the RPOs he can do as well, and that you can utilize as a play caller with him. Again, I think his mobility is just very special, and only Trey Lance to me, especially in this draft, is comparable in terms of their athleticism. And I think Trey Lance is probably a little more dynamic with the things he can do with his legs. But I mean, Justin Fields, that 4.4 440 is something else, man. So you're talking about a really special athlete as well, combined with the arm talent and the things he can do within the pocket. And you add in the fact that you can build a run game around him. Again, I just think he's a tremendous prospect with an extremely high ceiling. And again, I would rank him as the number 2 quarterback in this class. And I got to be honest with you, the narrative around his leadership, I just think it's utter bullshit. I mean, you look at his coach, Ohio State, Ryan Day, what he said about him. He said Justin is such a competitive guy. He wasn't going to come off the field in referencing that game against Clemson when he got hurt, and said, and that's just the way he's wired. You were going to have to pull him off the field. I thought that was one of the gutsiest performances I've ever seen in person. You have the game in Clemson where he's kind of playing through a broken rib, potentially after taking a huge hit, and that game comes back, and he throws 6 touchdowns against Clemson, beats them to get his team to the national title game. You can question his leadership because your buddies in the NFL front office say so, but again, there's video evidence that I could see with my own two eyes of the guy's physical toughness, his leadership on the field, again, in the biggest moments, and then what his coach says, what his teammates say about him. I think he's got, the toughness and the leadership, plus the arm talent, plus the athleticism and mobility. He's got everything you want from a guy that can be a potential franchise quarterback. And, I thought he had an incredible pro day as well. Everyone's hyping up Zach Wilson's pro day, and rightfully so. It was really impressive and probably the best pro day of all these guys. But Justin Fields, man, again, his footwork I thought looked really smooth, and he had some throws on the run, fading left and throwing back right, off of 1 foot, just 60 yards on a dime on a rope, again, showing that touch on the deep ball, the off-platform throws. I thought he did some things equally as impressive as Zach Wilson. So I'm kind of all in on Justin Fields. I think it would be a huge mistake if this guy, if he fell to us at number 9 and we didn't take him, man, I really would kind of question my faith in George Payton and kind of his view on how to build a team. And I also would just kind of question my fandom at that point if you don't think Justin Fields has a higher ceiling or could be more talented than Drew Lock. I'm not gonna continue to root for a organization that would pass that up. But again, I think there's a chance he goes number 4 to Atlanta. There's a chance he goes number 3 even to the Niners. I'm not really totally sold still they're gonna take Mac Jones just because Chris Sims said because he's Kyle Shanahan's best buddy or whatever. But on the flip side of things, I do understand some of the criticisms with Justin Fields. There is things that he needs to improve. There is times, sure, he doesn't go past his first read. He does come from kind of like a gimmicky offense, at Ohio State with the screens and the one read passes and kind of the quick actions. I get it, but I kind of saw the same thing with Zach Wilson, and I saw the same thing with Trey Lance. I saw the same thing with Trevor Lawrence with the one reads, especially with Clemson's offense. So again, I think people just are kind of holding Justin Fields more accountable for that criticism and that weakness, so to say, for some reason, when all these guys, I think you can make that argument, especially, in my opinion, with Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. I think there is problems with his vision in terms of missing the easy throws that are right in front of his face and going too quickly through his reads. But again, I think Zach Wilson has a probably bigger issue of that specific thing than Justin Fields does. And I saw Justin Fields go past his first read more often than is being made out to be. 2 specific plays I can name. There's a touchdown throw in the red zone against Penn State. You see a pre-snap read from Justin Fields. I believe he catches Micah Parsons, linebacker, coming in on the blitz. He sees the blitz is coming, pre-snap right before he's going to snap the ball, lets the tight end know, hey, he's blitzing, seems wide open, gets Parsons, catches him on the blitz, throws a touchdown. But again, this is a guy that apparently can't recognize a blitz. And then there's another play, I believe it's against Ohio State's game against Nebraska. He throws an absolute laser on a deep post against Nebraska, reading the safety with his eyes and kind of manipulating the safety with his eyes. So again, for a guy that has such terrible vision and can't read the blitz and all these things, again, I think it's something he can improve at, but it's something he's shown he's capable of doing. Again, there's 2 specific examples I just named you, and I can show you those highlights. Those are, again, things I've seen with my own two eyes. So I think some of the criticism that's been thrown on him has just been magnified for whatever reason, and I don't really understand that. Again, the thing about he can't pick up the blitz, well, maybe that's something he can improve on, but if you go back and you really watched Ohio State and that O-line, their O-line was a mess with pass protection. I mean, they would let free runners happen all the time and just get loose, and Justin Fields would have guys right in his face right away from guys just missing blitzers. And again, maybe that's he can be better adjusting pre-snap, whatever the case is, but a lot of that I don't think is on him. And again, I saw him do those things people are saying he's incapable of doing. So I really don't understand it. I think the main criticism I agree with Justin Fields is, I think his decision making needs work, and not necessarily like on he throws a lot of near interceptions or things like that. I just think he's kind of there's times he is indecisive with whether wanting to throw the ball or run. Like there's times where he'll see a running lane where with his athleticism could be a 40, 50-yard touchdown, huge run, huge play, and he'll just hold the ball. And he holds the ball too long and tries to be Superman, and then he'll get sacked, or the pocket will start to collapse, and again the rush is right in his face, and instead of just looking to roll out and get out of the traffic and make a play with his legs, again he holds on to the ball too long. That's kind of the thing with his decision-making I have a bigger problem with, more so than his decision-making as an actual thrower. Again, a lot of the things that I think are being criticized about him as a thrower are just flat-out inaccurate. So getting to the ultimate point of this video and conclusion of this video, should the Broncos draft Justin Fields? Again, it's going to be a resounding yes for me. It was a resounding yes for Zach Wilson. It was a resounding yes for Trey Lance. But I think there's some momentum building that Trey Lance is really going to go number 4 to Atlanta, and they are really, really high on him and kind of letting him play a year behind Matt Ryan. And there's even some talk about him going number 3 to San Francisco. And obviously there's a ton of talk, and it's almost a lock that Zach Wilson's going to go number 2. So with Justin Fields, I think he might have a more likely chance once again of being there at number 9 for us. And if he's there at number 9 and we do not take him, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be so disappointed, kind of infuriated in a lot of ways, and as I said before, previous in this video, really kind of questioning my fandom in this team. And I know a lot of you like Drew Lock, and a report came out he's working with Peyton Manning. And I think that's great. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. But again, I am not a believer in the guy, and I go off a lot of what my eyes tell me. And I have 13 games that showed 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, and a guy that was so ineffective with a lot of help around him already. So I think it's great he's trying to improve, and sure, he deserves the chance to compete for his job. But if Justin Fields is there at pick number 9, even to me, if you have the opportunity to trade the number 4 to get him, to get the number 2 quarterback in a quarterback class that I think has a chance to be an all-time or transcendent quarterback class, I think would just be, absolutely foolish if George Payton did take those opportunities if they're there. Again, if he falls to number 9, if he falls to number 7, and you can move up to Detroit or even moving up to number 4 Atlanta, I would do it. But again, it just seems like there's a lot of momentum with this thing coming out about Drew Lock working with Peyton Manning today. And you look at some of these mock drafts, you got Daniel Jeremiah recently mocked Justin Fields going number 7 to just Detroit flat out taking him at 7. That would suck. You got Todd McShay has us just flat out passing him at number 9, and then falling to number 11, excuse me, to New England. So it seems like there's this big belief we're not going to take him, we're not interested in him, which I just think is, again, so foolish. And it would even suck more if we don't get him. Now that Carolina, they traded for Sam Darnold, so they're in front of us at number 8. They were thought to be a big team, potentially, that could take Justin Fields or any one of these quarterbacks. Maybe they're now out of the race with, Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater there. Maybe they drafted a defensive player or offensive lineman. It just seems like there's so much things like momentum and just things going our way in terms of Justin Fields being there and looking like there's a great opportunity for us to get him. So it's just disappointing to see that we probably won't get him, and probably aren't targeting him. But man, if he's there at number 9, again, I think even train up to number 4. If San Francisco doesn't take him at number 3, or the thought of trading up to number 7 with Detroit to get him, I would love to do all of them. I think he's a really, really big time player. I think he's a more athletic, probably, maybe more special arm talent version of Dak Prescott. That's really how I feel about him. And I even like the Greg Cosell comparison, saying he's a smaller Cam Newton, and to have a chance to get that and to pass on it because, Drew Lock's studying tape with Peyton Manning, be real disappointed in me. But nonetheless, I love Justin Fields. I really have no idea where he's going to go. Could see it being number 3, number 4, number 7, number 9, maybe he falls to number 11. I don't know, but he's a real special talent, and I'm rooting for him. And I think the people doubting him are really foolish. So would love to hear your guys' comments below. What do you think of Justin Fields overall as a prospect, him as a quarterback? What do you think of how he'd fit here in Denver? Would you want the Broncos to trade up for him? Would you want us to take him if he fell to number 9? How do you think he can pairs against Drew Lock? Just would love to hear you guys' comments as always. Thanks for watching this video. Like the video, subscribe. Probably will have another video about Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback, and then after that, start covering some other draft positions as the draft's next week. So I'm going to try to get as much done as I can until then, because again, it seems like momentum's kind of shifting towards the Broncos not taking a quarterback. So I kind of want to focus on some other positions and guys that maybe they're now looking more likely to take. But nonetheless, appreciate you guys watching. Like the video, subscribe, and take it easy.